Hey guys, LQ here with the LQ review, and I'm back with my Walking Dead review. So this is my review of The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 15, The Calm Before. So this episode is very fair-centric. It involves, basically, you've got a lot of interactions during the fair that King Ezekiel is putting on at the Kingdom. But you've also got the side story of Daryl and Carol and Yukio and who was the fourth person in that group? Daryl, Carol, Yukio, and there was a fourth person. There's a fourth in that group. Michonne. Duh. They went out searching for the some missing people from the group, and they come across Alpha and the Whisperers. So Alpha lets them know, this is your territory, this is our territory. I have marked the border. And this is where we get the infamous Pike scene from the comics. The people who died in the comics are not the same as who die in the show, which that's nothing new. The show does that all the time. But this is going to be a very spoilery review, because I have some likes and some dislikes about who they chose. So let's talk about the fair first. The fair was a lot of fun. It was nice to see the interaction, the interplay between the communities, and it was nice to see. One of my favorite scenes of the episode was when Ezekiel pulled out the Constitution, and the leaders from the different communities started signing the Constitution. It was nice to see the leader from Oceanside there, because Oceanside has been kind of MIA lately. And it was just nice to see that scene where they're all creating a trust together, an alliance, if you will. An attack on one is an attack on all. And then we saw them all sign the Constitution, and that felt very forefatherish, like they were founding a new nation. So that was really interesting. As a history buff, as a history major, I really liked that scene. Let's get into the stuff with Alpha. Alpha does infiltrate the kingdom. She does have some interactions with the King Ezekiel. And she, during the movie, which I thought was great that they chose to show an animated movie, like an old Looney Tunes episode. I thought it was great because those old Looney Tunes episodes are extremely violent, but comical. So I thought it was great that these people who've lived this super violent life are watching a violent cartoon and laughing at it. I don't know. I just thought that was great. But Alpha infiltrates the movie and is able to take Lydia out of the movie. And she tells Lydia, come, we're getting out of here. And Lydia refuses her, and Lydia says, no, I'm staying. Thought that was a moment of great strength for Lydia. And I also thought it was a moment of great vulnerability on Alpha's side. And she even ends up killing one of her men just because her man saw her being vulnerable and crying. So I thought that was all great. The interaction between Alpha and the four that she took in the woods was also great. She singled out Daryl, which I thought was funny because Daryl technically isn't the leader of any of the communities, but she singled him out because I think that her being the alpha of the Whispers, I think that she kind of identifies him as the alpha of these four communities. Could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what I read into it. But she takes him and she shows him the huge herd, and basically, I'm going to turn this herd on you if you cross over into our territory again. So I don't know. It was really interesting that it's almost like Alpha doesn't want to go to war. Like, she wants to avoid it if possible as well. But she's hyper violent in her methods, and we saw that with the Pikes. So, the Highwaymen were piked up. I felt that was why they were introduced in the first place, was to be some Pike, some people on the Pike, and I was right. Ozzy obviously was the most recognizable of the Highwaymen who got piked up. But let's talk about the three big ones. Enid was on the Pike, and that was a shocker to me. They had this huge Enid storyline, just survived somehow. They built her up to be this main character, and it's almost like they built up a main character and then nothing ever happened with her. So I thought that was a waste of a character to kill her. Tara, who was another Pike victim, I could see that one. Tara kind of run her course. She was kind of a useless member. I hate to say it, but there wasn't much for her to do anymore. Yeah, she was the leader of the Hilltop, but was she really? I think in spirit, Daryl is the leader of the Hilltop. So I feel like she was one of the right decisions to be on the Pikes. Enid, I could have gone either way on. I just felt like it was a waste of character. She had all this backstory, all this build-up, and then her character never really did much of anything. So I kind of thought that was a waste. Let's talk about the one that really irritates me, and that's Henry. Henry was a Pike victim. And for the love of me, I don't know why. I don't know why. They were obviously building Henry up to be the Carl role in this version, in the TV version. Carl and Lydia have a long-standing relationship. There was a lot for Carl to do in the Whisper War. There's still a lot for Carl to do in the future. And yeah, they had to kill Carl for whatever reasons. I don't want to get into all that nonsense. But Henry was, honestly, I thought Henry was slipping nice into the Carl role, and I was into it. And now Henry's dead. So what are they going to do with the Carl role? I don't know. It just feels... I recognize that the show removes itself from the comics quite frequently, but this just feels really removed from the comics. Like, Lydia is alone in the community. She's probably going to go to Alexandria. She's alone, and in the comics, she at least had Carl. And now she doesn't even have Henry. So I don't know. I've just got a problem with killing Henry. And maybe it'll all play itself out well, but I really have a serious problem with it. I'm not a fan of that move at all. Enid, who cares? Tara, yeah, I see that one. But Henry, I have a real problem with, because he was playing that Carl role, and now it's almost like that role isn't going to happen in the TV version. But it's such an important role to the original storyline in the comics that I don't see how they can get away with not having it. So, yeah, I got a problem with it. I don't like that at all. Overall, though, the episode was very strong. There's a lot of emotion. I loved how Daryl ran over to Carol and said, "Don't look, don't look." And then we saw that it was Henry. Yeah, a very emotional episode. Not a very action-packed episode. There was a nice fight scene with the walkers that led to the Whisper moment where the four were taken. I really like Siddiq's speech at the end when he was like, "This is the story I want to tell." And boy, when Ozzy and those highwaymen rushed the Whispers, it was like so clear to me that these were great characters, right? The highwaymen were great characters. I thought they were disposable, and then they rushed in valiantly to try to save their people, which by now they had become their people. So I thought that was honorable, and I really respected the characters at that point. And I regretted that they were so short-lived, and that's probably what we were meant to feel, was regret that they were so short-lived. They were putting their lives on the line for a movie. But at the end of the day, it was more than that. At the end of the day, they felt like they were part of this bigger community. And I love that. So, and I think that's going to be a theme that's going to play into next episode and into next season. Looks like in the next episode, they're going to get caught in a storm. They're going to have to take shelter in an outpost. Our heroes. I want to see Negan play the same role that he did in the comics. And I don't know if we're going to get the start of that this season. I hope we do. I hope we at least see the start of that storyline. We're not going to see that whole storyline play out, because that's going to be probably a season-long storyline, or at least a half-season-long storyline. But I want to see the start of that start to play out, the Negan role. Overall, strong episode, though, that ended on a great emotional punch. I definitely recommend this episode if you are one of the people who walked away from The Walking Dead during All Out War, like a lot of people did. I don't know why. All Out War was great. But if you're one of those people, this is a great time to come back, because The Walking Dead has found its footing, and the Whisper War promises to be great. So, I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. What do you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit subscribe, and until next time, thank you for being here, where we get to talk about all the needy. I do that all the time. All the nerdy and geeky stuff that we love to talk about. Thanks a lot.